Millionaire sees homeless woman with twin boys, then realizes the unthinkable truth. Arthur Sterling, a titan of industry, a man whose name was synonymous with success and ambition, exuded an aura of power and authority. His tailored suits, his impeccably groomed appearance, and his penthouse office overlooking the sprawling metropolis spoke volumes about his status and achievements. He was a self-made millionaire, the CEO of Sterling Industries, a company he had built from the ground up with sheer determination and relentless drive. Arthur's life was a symphony of high-powered meetings, international deals, and exclusive social gatherings. He thrived on the adrenaline rush of closing a major acquisition, the satisfaction of outmaneuvering his competitors, the power that came with being at the helm of a multi-million-dollar enterprise. He was a master strategist, a shrewd negotiator, a visionary leader who had earned the respect and admiration of his peers. But beneath the polished veneer of success, Arthur harbored a deep-seated loneliness, a void that no amount of wealth or accomplishment could fill. His childhood had been one of privilege and isolation, his parents more concerned with their social standing than with nurturing their son's emotional needs. He had grown up in a sprawling mansion, surrounded by servants and tutors, but devoid of genuine affection and connection. His parents, preoccupied with their own ambitions and social obligations, had left him in the care of nannies and governesses. His cries for attention often met with indifference or annoyance. He had learned to suppress his emotions, to bury his vulnerabilities, to find solace in achievement rather than intimacy. This emotional detachment had served him well in the cutthroat world of business, where vulnerability was often perceived as weakness. He had become a master of compartmentalization, keeping his personal and professional lives strictly separate, his emotions tightly controlled. He had never married, had no close friends, and his family relationships were strained at best. His sister, Eleanor, was the only person who had ever truly seen him, who had ever attempted to penetrate the wall he had built around himself. But even her efforts had been met with resistance, his fear of intimacy outweighing his desire for connection. Arthur's life was a gilded cage, a world of luxury and success that masked a profound emptiness. He had everything he could ever want, yet he felt like he had nothing. He was admired, envied, even feared, but never truly loved. One evening, as Arthur was leaving his office, his chauffeured limousine gliding through the bustling city streets, he noticed a woman in a wheelchair selling flowers on a street corner. It was a cold, blustery night, the wind whipping through the canyons of steel and glass, and the woman was bundled up in a worn coat, her face pale and tired. Two young boys, no older than 8 or 9, huddled beside her, their hands tucked into their pockets for warmth. Something about the woman and the boys caught Arthur's attention. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, but there was something familiar about them, something that tugged at his memory, a faint echo of a forgotten past. He dismissed the feeling as a fleeting fancy, a trick of the light, and instructed his driver to continue on. But the image of the woman and the boys lingered in his mind, haunting him with an unsettling familiarity, a nagging sense of recognition that he couldn't shake off. The next day, Arthur found himself inexplicably drawn back to the street corner where he had seen the woman and the boys. He dismissed his driver and walked the remaining distance, his footsteps echoing on the deserted sidewalk. The woman was still there, her wheelchair positioned strategically near the crosswalk, her voice a soft murmur as she offered flowers to the few passers-by braving the chilly weather. The boys were playing nearby, their laughter a stark contrast to the bleakness of their surroundings. As Arthur watched, he was struck by a startling realization. The boys looked identical to him. They had the same dark hair, the same piercing blue eyes, the same strong jawline that had become his trademark. The resemblance was uncanny, impossible to ignore. A wave of confusion washed over him, his carefully constructed world tilting on its axis. Who were these boys? Why did they look so much like him? He had never had children, had never even been in a serious relationship. The possibility that these boys were somehow related to him was absurd, preposterous, a notion that threatened to shatter the foundations of his carefully constructed reality. Yet, the resemblance was undeniable. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was some connection between them, some hidden link that he couldn't comprehend. Driven by an insatiable curiosity, a need to unravel this mystery that had suddenly intruded into his life, Arthur decided to approach the woman. He crossed the street, his heart pounding in his chest, his mind a whirlwind of questions, his carefully controlled composure threatening to crumble. "Excuse me," he said, his voice hesitant, unsure, a stark contrast to the commanding tone he usually employed. "I couldn't help but notice your sons. They look remarkably like me." The woman looked up, her eyes widening in surprise, her gaze meeting his with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. She studied Arthur's face for a moment, her expression unreadable, her thoughts a mystery to him. "I know," she said softly, her voice tinged with sadness, a hint of resignation in her tone. "They do, don't they?" Arthur's confusion deepened. Do you know who I am?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The woman nodded slowly. "Yes, Mr. Sterling, I know who you are." "But how?" Arthur stammered, his mind reeling, his carefully constructed world crumbling around him. "And who are you? And who are there?" He hesitated, unable to bring himself to say the word father. The word that hung heavy in the air, unspoken but undeniable. The woman's eyes filled with tears, her gaze dropping to her lap, her hands nervously fidgeting with the bouquet of flowers in her lap. "My name is Emily," she said, her voice barely audible. "And these are your sons, Thomas and William." Emily's words hit Arthur like a thunderbolt, shattering the illusion of control he had so carefully cultivated. His sons? He had sons? The realization was so unexpected, so overwhelming, that he felt his knees weaken, his breath catch in his throat. He stumbled back, grasping for support, his mind reeling, his world tilting on its axis. Emily, sensing his shock and confusion, began to explain, her voice soft and hesitant, her words unraveling a past he had long forgotten. She had met Arthur years ago, at a charity gala, a world of glittering chandeliers and champagne flutes, a world where fleeting encounters and superficial conversations were the norm. They had been drawn to each other, two lonely souls seeking connection in a sea of superficiality. Their affair had been brief, passionate, a whirlwind romance that had burned brightly but quickly fizzled out. Arthur, consumed by his work, his ambition, had moved on, leaving Emily heartbroken and pregnant. She had never told Arthur about the pregnancy, fearing his reaction, knowing that he wasn't ready for fatherhood, that his life was not one that could accommodate the responsibilities of a family. She had raised the boys on her own, struggling to make ends meet, her love for them her only solace, her driving force. She had worked as a waitress, a cashier, a cleaning lady, any job she could find to provide for her sons. She had scrimped and saved, sacrificed her own dreams and aspirations, to ensure that her boys had a roof over their heads, food on the table, and a chance at a better life. A few years ago, tragedy had struck. Emily had been involved in a car accident, a hit and run that had left her paralyzed from the waist down. She had been forced to give up her job, her independence, her dreams of a better future for her sons. She had been left with nothing but her two boys and a mountain of medical bills. Selling flowers on the street corner was her last resort, a desperate attempt to provide for her children, to keep a roof over their heads, to maintain a semblance of dignity in the face of adversity. Arthur listened to Emily's story in stunned silence, his mind struggling to process the information, his heart aching for the woman he had wronged, for the sons he had never known. He couldn't believe that he had sons, that he had been a father all these years without knowing it. He couldn't believe the hardship Emily had endured, the sacrifices she had made, the strength she had shown. He looked at his sons, their faces filled with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension, their eyes mirroring his own, a reflection of his own forgotten past. They were his flesh and blood, his own children, and he had been completely oblivious to their existence. A wave of guilt washed over him, a crushing sense of responsibility for the life he had missed, for the pain he had caused, for the opportunities he had squandered. He had been so consumed by his own ambition, his own pursuit of success, that he had failed to see the true riches that life had to offer, the riches of love, family, and connection. Arthur stood frozen on the sidewalk, the weight of Emily's revelation pressing down on him like a physical burden. He was faced with a life-altering decision, a crossroads that would determine the course of his life, the legacy he would leave behind. He could walk away, pretend that he had never met Emily and the boys, continue his life of solitary success, his carefully constructed world undisturbed. Or he could embrace his newfound fatherhood, step up to his responsibilities, and change the course of his life forever. His initial instinct, ingrained by years of emotional detachment and self-reliance, was to flee, to retreat back into the familiar comfort of his solitary existence. He was a man who had always avoided emotional entanglement, who had always prioritized his work above all else. The thought of taking on the responsibility of 2 young children, of disrupting his carefully constructed life, filled him with apprehension, a fear of the unknown that threatened to overwhelm him. But as he looked at his sons, their innocent faces mirroring his own, their eyes filled with a mixture of curiosity and hope, he felt a stirring within him, a long-dormant emotion that he couldn't ignore. It was a feeling of connection, of belonging, of love, a feeling that had been absent from his life for so long. He realized that he couldn't walk away, that he couldn't deny these boys, that he couldn't deny himself the chance to be a father, to experience the love and connection he had craved for so long. He made a decision that would change his life forever. He would embrace his newfound family, he would provide for them, he would be the father he had never had, the father they deserved. He started by renting a spacious and comfortable apartment for Emily and the boys, ensuring they had everything they needed. He furnished it with comfortable furniture, stocked the kitchen with healthy food, and filled the boys' rooms with toys and books. He hired a full-time caregiver for Emily, a compassionate and experienced nurse who could provide the care and support she needed, relieving her of the burden of constant care and allowing her to focus on her recovery and her sons. He enrolled the boys in a prestigious private school, providing them with the best education money could buy. He met with the headmaster, discussed their individual needs and learning styles, and ensured that they had access to all the resources and opportunities they needed to thrive. He also began spending time with his sons, tentatively at first, unsure of how to navigate this new role, this unfamiliar territory of fatherhood. He took them to the park, to museums, to sporting events, experiencing the world through their eyes, rediscovering the joy and wonder of childhood. He was awkward and unsure at first, his years of emotional detachment making it difficult for him to connect with them, to express his affection, to understand their needs. But gradually, with Emily's patient guidance and the boys' unconditional love, he began to break down the walls he had built around himself, to open his heart to his sons, to embrace the joys and challenges of fatherhood. He discovered a joy he had never known before, a sense of fulfillment that his work had never provided. He found himself looking forward to spending time with his sons, to watching them grow and learn, to being a part of their lives, to sharing their laughter and their tears. He began to attend their school events, their soccer games, their piano recitals, beaming with pride at their accomplishments, his heart swelling with love for these 2 amazing boys who had so unexpectedly entered his life. He also began to take an active interest in their education, helping them with their homework, reading to them at night, encouraging their curiosity and their thirst for knowledge. He discovered a passion for teaching, for sharing his knowledge and experience with his sons, for guiding them on their journey of discovery. News of Arthur's newfound family spread like wildfire through his social circles, a ripple of surprise and intrigue in the otherwise predictable waters of high society. His colleagues, his business associates, even his estranged family members were shocked and fascinated by this unexpected turn of events. Some were skeptical, their eyebrows raised in suspicion, their whispers laced with doubt. They questioned Emily's motives, accusing her of gold digging, of taking advantage of Arthur's wealth and naivety. They saw her as an opportunist, a cunning manipulator who had ensnared Arthur in her web of deceit. Others were amused, their gossip fueled by schadenfreude, their laughter echoing in the opulent ballrooms and exclusive clubs where they gathered. They saw Arthur's predicament as a source of entertainment, a juicy scandal to spice up their otherwise mundane lives. They relished the irony of this powerful and successful man being brought down by a woman in a wheelchair and two fatherless boys. But a few were genuinely happy for Arthur, their hearts warmed by this unexpected turn of events. They saw this as an opportunity for him to find happiness and fulfillment outside of his work, to experience the joys of family, to connect with his humanity. One person who was particularly interested in Arthur's new family was his younger sister, Eleanor. Eleanor had always been close to Arthur, despite their different personalities and lifestyles. She was a warm and compassionate woman, a beacon of empathy in a world of ambition and self-interest. She had always worried about Arthur's solitary existence, his inability to form meaningful relationships, his emotional detachment. She had hoped that one day he would find someone to share his life with, someone who could bring him happiness, someone who could melt the ice around his heart. When she heard about Emily and the boys, she was overjoyed. She saw this as a chance for Arthur to finally experience the joys of family, to find the love and connection he had been missing. She reached out to Arthur, offering her support and encouragement, her voice filled with genuine warmth and affection. She visited Emily and the boys, bringing gifts and offering to help in any way she could. She became a surrogate aunt to Thomas and William, showering them with affection and attention, filling their lives with laughter and joy. Eleanor's presence was a welcome addition to Arthur's new family. She brought a warmth and vibrancy that had been missing from Arthur's life, and she helped to bridge the gap between Arthur and his sons, her gentle guidance and unconditional love easing their transition into this new and unfamiliar dynamic. She organized family outings, planned birthday parties, and hosted holiday gatherings, creating a sense of normalcy and belonging for Arthur and his sons. She became a confidant to Emily, offering a listening ear and a shoulder to cry on, sharing the joys and challenges of motherhood. Eleanor's presence was a catalyst for change in Arthur's life. She helped him to reconnect with his emotions, to express his feelings, to be vulnerable. She encouraged him to embrace his new role as a father, to let go of his past, to open his heart to love and connection. Arthur's relationship with his sons blossomed over time, nurtured by shared experiences, unconditional love, and the unwavering support of Emily and Eleanor. He learned to be a father, to play with them, to comfort them, to guide them, to be present in their lives in a way he had never been present in his own childhood. He discovered the joys of bedtime stories, his voice weaving tales of adventure and wonder, his sons' eyes wide with excitement and anticipation. He built Lego castles with them, his hands clumsily fumbling with the tiny bricks, his laughter mingling with theirs as their creations took shape. He coached their little league baseball team, his booming voice encouraging them from the sidelines, his heart swelling with pride at their every swing and catch. He also developed a deep respect and admiration for Emily, her strength and resilience inspiring him, her unwavering love for her sons filling him with awe. He saw the sacrifices she had made, the challenges she had overcome, the unwavering devotion she had shown to her children. He was filled with remorse for the way he had treated her in the past, for the pain he had caused her, for the opportunities he had missed. He vowed to make amends, to be the partner she deserved, to support her in every way he could, to cherish her for the rest of his days. Their relationship, once a fleeting affair, deepened into a mature and loving partnership, founded on mutual respect, shared values, and a deep love for their sons. They found solace in each other's company, their shared laughter and quiet conversations filling the void that had once defined their lives. Arthur also began to reconnect with his own emotions, to express his feelings, to be vulnerable, to shed the armor he had worn for so long. He learned to laugh without reservation, to cry without shame, to love without fear. He discovered a depth and richness to life that he had never known before, a world of emotions and connections that had been hidden from him for so long. His relationship with his sister, Eleanor, also deepened, their bond strengthened by shared experiences and mutual support. He appreciated her unwavering belief in him, her gentle guidance, her unconditional love. He began to confide in her, to seek her advice, to value her friendship, to cherish her presence in his life. He realized that he had been wrong to isolate himself, to shut out the people who cared about him. He began to open up to others, to form meaningful connections, to build a life that was not just about work and achievement, but also about love, family, and community. He began to attend social gatherings with Emily and the boys, introducing them to his colleagues and acquaintances, his heart swelling with pride as he watched them interact with others, their laughter filling the room. He began to participate in charity events, his presence no longer sought after for his wealth and influence alone, but for his genuine compassion and commitment to social causes. He found himself drawn to Emily's world, a world of simplicity and authenticity that contrasted sharply with the superficiality of his former life. He spent hours with her, listening to her stories about her childhood, her dreams, her struggles. He learned about her passion for art, her love of nature, her deep faith. He discovered a kindred spirit, a woman whose inner beauty far surpassed any outward appearance. He also began to appreciate the simple pleasures of life, the joys of a home-cooked meal, the comfort of a shared silence, the beauty of a sunset viewed from their balcony. He found a sense of peace and contentment that had eluded him for so long, a sense of belonging that he had never experienced before. One day, Emily's condition took a turn for the worse. The infection that had plagued her for weeks flared up again, her weakened immune system struggling to fight off the relentless assault. She was rushed to the hospital, her breathing labored, her fever spiking, her body racked with pain. Arthur was devastated. He had come to rely on Emily's strength, her resilience, her unwavering optimism. The thought of losing her, of his sons losing their mother, filled him with a terror he had never known before. He spent every waking moment at Emily's bedside, holding her hand, whispering words of love and encouragement, his voice trembling with fear and desperation. He prayed for her recovery, his heart heavy with guilt and regret for the years he had wasted, for the love he had almost missed. The boys were also deeply affected by their mother's illness. They were scared, confused, their young minds struggling to comprehend the gravity of the situation. They clung to Arthur, their eyes filled with tears, their voices choked with sobs. Arthur did his best to comfort them, to reassure them that their mother would be okay, his own fears masked by a forced smile and a reassuring tone. He took them to the hospital every day, allowing them to spend time with Emily, to talk to her, to sing her songs, to shower her with their innocent love. He held them close at night, their small bodies trembling in his arms, their tears soaking his shirt. He whispered stories of their mother's strength and courage, of her unwavering love for them, of her unwavering belief in their potential. He shared memories of their happy times together, of their laughter and their adventures, of the bond that could never be broken. He read them bedtime stories, his voice cracking with emotion, his eyes blurring with tears. He sang them lullabies, his voice soft and soothing, his heart aching for their pain. He held them until they fell asleep, their small hands clutching his, their breathing finally calming, their nightmares momentarily forgotten. After weeks of intensive care, Emily's condition stabilized. The infection slowly began to recede, her fever subsided, her breathing eased, her strength gradually returning. She opened her eyes, her gaze meeting Arthur's, a weak smile gracing her lips. Arthur was overjoyed. He had come so close to losing her, and the experience had made him realize how much she meant to him, how much his family meant to him. He had faced his own mortality, his own vulnerability, and had emerged from the darkness with a renewed appreciation for life, for love, for connection. He vowed to cherish every moment with them, to never take their love for granted, to be the best partner and father he could be. He would dedicate his life to their happiness, to their well-being, to their future. Emily's illness had a profound impact on Arthur, shaking him to his core, forcing him to confront his own mortality, to reevaluate his priorities, to appreciate the fragility of life. He realized that he had been living a life that was out of balance, a life that was too focused on work and achievement, and not enough on love and connection. He decided to make some changes to realign his priorities, to create a life that was more in harmony with his values, his newfound understanding of what truly mattered. He stepped down as CEO of Sterling Industries, handing over the reins to a trusted colleague, a capable and compassionate leader who shared his vision for the company. He reduced his workload, delegating more responsibilities, freeing up more time for his family, for the simple pleasures of life, for the joys of fatherhood. He spent his days with Emily and the boys, taking them to the park, to museums, to the zoo, exploring the world with them, sharing their laughter and their wonder. He also became more involved in philanthropic activities, using his wealth and influence to support causes he believed in, to make a positive impact on the world. He donated generously to charities that supported people with disabilities, funded research into spinal cord injuries, and volunteered his time at a local homeless shelter. He found a new sense of purpose in helping others, in making a difference in the lives of those less fortunate. He realized that true wealth was not measured in dollars and cents, but in love, connection, and contribution. He discovered the joy of giving back, of using his privilege to empower others, to create opportunities for those who had been denied them. He also made amends with his estranged family members, reaching out to them, rebuilding bridges that had been broken for years. He visited his parents, his siblings, his nieces and nephews, sharing his newfound joy, his newfound appreciation for family. He discovered the joys of family gatherings, of sharing holidays and birthdays with loved ones, of creating memories that would last a lifetime. He realized that he had been wrong to isolate himself, to shut out the people who cared about him. He embraced his family, his friends, his community, finding a sense of belonging he had never known before. He hosted dinners, organized outings, and participated in community events, his presence no longer marked by aloofness and detachment, but by warmth and genuine connection. He became an active member of his community, volunteering his time at local schools, mentoring young people, and supporting local businesses. He discovered the joy of giving back, of contributing to the well-being of his community, of being a part of something larger than himself. He also began to explore his own creative side, taking up painting, learning to play the piano, and writing poetry. He discovered a hidden talent for expressing himself through art, a way to channel his emotions, to connect with his inner self. He found a new sense of balance in his life, a harmony between his personal and professional life, between his ambition and his compassion, between his head and his heart. He had finally found the peace and fulfillment that had eluded him for so long, the sense of belonging that had been missing from his life. One day, while attending a charity event with Emily, Arthur was approached by a young woman who introduced herself as a social worker. She explained that she worked with families who were struggling to make ends meet, families who were facing homelessness, poverty, and despair. She was looking for donors to support a new program that provided housing and support services to these families, a program that aimed to break the cycle of poverty and provide a pathway to a better future. Arthur was immediately interested. He remembered his own struggles as a child, the emotional neglect he had experienced, the lack of support he had felt. He empathized with these families, their struggles mirroring his own childhood experiences, their hopes and dreams echoing his own journey towards fulfillment. He donated generously to the program, his contribution providing a much-needed boost to their fundraising efforts. But he also wanted to be more involved, to contribute more than just his financial resources. He wanted to use his experience, his knowledge, his influence to make a real difference in the lives of these families. He met with the social worker, learned more about the program, and offered his assistance. He volunteered his time, his business acumen, and his network of contacts to help develop the program, to ensure its success, to maximize its impact. He met with families, listened to their stories, their voices filled with despair and hope, their faces etched with hardship and resilience. He offered them encouragement, support, and guidance, sharing his own story of overcoming adversity, of finding redemption, of discovering the true meaning of wealth and happiness. He helped them to navigate the complex social service system, to access resources, to find employment, to secure housing. He mentored them, offering advice, sharing his knowledge, and empowering them to take control of their lives. He discovered a passion for helping others, for making a difference in the lives of those less fortunate. He realized that his wealth and influence could be used for good, that he could make a real impact on the world, that he could leave a legacy that extended beyond his own family and his own achievements. This experience marked a turning point for Arthur. He had found a new direction in life, a new purpose that gave him a sense of fulfillment and meaning. He had discovered the joy of giving back, of using his privilege to empower others, to create opportunities for those who had been denied them. He continued his philanthropic work, supporting a variety of causes, from education to healthcare to environmental conservation. He became a respected philanthropist, his name synonymous with generosity and compassion, his legacy one of positive impact and social change. Years passed, and Arthur continued to grow and evolve, his transformation a testament to the power of love, family, and purpose. He became a loving and devoted father, his bond with his sons deepening with each passing year, their laughter and shared experiences filling his life with joy and meaning. He became a supportive and caring partner to Emily, their relationship blossoming into a mature and loving partnership, their love for each other a constant source of strength and inspiration. He cherished her strength, her resilience, her unwavering optimism, her unwavering love for their sons. He became a generous and compassionate philanthropist, his contributions making a real difference in the lives of countless individuals and communities. He found fulfillment in giving back, in using his privilege to empower others, to create opportunities for those who had been denied them. He had come a long way from the ruthless businessman he had once been, the man who had valued success and achievement above all else. He had learned the importance of love, connection, and contribution. He had discovered the true meaning of wealth, the true value of life. He often reflected on his journey, the transformation he had undergone, the lessons he had learned, the people who had helped him along the way. He was grateful for the challenges he had faced, the mistakes he had made, the opportunities he had been given. He was especially grateful for Emily and his sons. They had shown him the true meaning of love, the true joy of family. They had helped him to heal the wounds of his past, to become the man he was always meant to be. He realized that his life had been enriched beyond measure by their presence. They had filled his life with love, laughter, and purpose. They had given him a sense of belonging, a sense of home. He was no longer the solitary, emotionally detached man he had once been. He had opened his heart to love, to connection, to the beauty and complexity of life. He had embraced his vulnerability, his humanity, his capacity for love and compassion. He had found true happiness, true fulfillment, true wealth. He had found it not in the boardroom or the penthouse, but in the laughter of his sons, the warmth of Emily's embrace, the gratitude in the eyes of those he had helped. He had found it in the simple pleasures of life, the joy of a shared meal, the comfort of a quiet evening at home, the beauty of a sunset viewed with loved ones. He had found it in the connection he felt to his community, to the world around him, to the universe itself. He had found it in the knowledge that he was making a difference, that he was leaving the world a better place than he had found it. Arthur's story is a testament to the transformative power of love, the importance of family, and the possibility of redemption. It is a story about second chances, about finding happiness in unexpected places, about discovering the true meaning of wealth. Arthur's journey from a solitary millionaire to a loving father and compassionate philanthropist is a reminder that we all have the potential to change, to grow, to find fulfillment. It is a reminder that our past does not define us, that our mistakes do not limit us, that our potential for growth and transformation is limitless. It is a story that speaks to the importance of human connection, of the power of love to heal and transform. It is a story that reminds us that true wealth is not measured in material possessions, but in the richness of our relationships and the depth of our contributions to the world. Arthur's story is a beacon of hope, a reminder that it is never too late to change, to find love, to make a difference. It is a story that inspires us to embrace the possibilities of life, to open our hearts to love, to live a life of purpose and meaning. It is a story that challenges us to examine our own priorities, to question our definition of success, to seek fulfillment beyond material wealth and social status. It is a story that encourages us to connect with our humanity, to embrace our vulnerability, to find joy in the simple pleasures of life. Arthur's story is a reminder that we are all interconnected, that our actions have consequences, and that we all have a role to play in creating a more just and compassionate world. It is a story that inspires us to be the best versions of ourselves, to live a life that matters, to leave a legacy of love and positive impact. Arthur's story is a testament to the human spirit, its resilience, its capacity for love, its potential for greatness. It is a story that reminds us that we are all capable of extraordinary things, that we all have the power to make a difference, that we all have the potential to find true happiness and fulfillment.